Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues of interest to you, the listening audience, that will challenge, encourage, motivate, and inspire you to keep the faith. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it's my job dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John 5 and 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show.
Good evening, Matters of Faith family. It's Monday, March the 20th. It's 8 o'clock and it's time for Matters of Faith. I hope you missed me last week, but tonight we're back. And what we're talking about tonight, what would you request? What would you request? And that article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at thebronxchronicle.com and the Yonkers Insider. So please, telephone, tell a friend, Matters of Faith is on again. Tell them to read the article before they join. But our special guest tonight is Lady Dr. Denyse H. Turner. You're going to love hearing from this woman. Make sure you telephone to a friend. Matters of Faith is on again. Are the trustees in your church aware of their fiduciary responsibilities? Are the disciples of your church aware of God's biblical economic strategies and how to best apply them in their own personal situation? Are you looking to build, refinance, develop your church property? Well, if so, the JLR company, J. Lauren R. Consulting LLC, is here to help. Just give us a call at 718-328-8096. That's 718-328-8096. You can also visit us on our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. At the JLR Company, it's not about the castle, it's about the kingdom. Get your copy of Matters of Faith the book. Matters of Faith the book can be purchased using my Cash App at $Matters of Faith. The book is $22.80. You can also get it by sending a check or money order to the JLR Company, P.O. Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York City, New York 10035. You can also get it as an ebook. All you have to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Whether you purchase using the Cash App, send a check or money order, or get it as an ebook, you need to have the book Matters of Faith. Better Mag Magazine invites you to their annual Diamond Award Gala on Saturday, March 25th, 2023, at Verdi's in Westbury, New York. From 12 noon to 4 p.m., they will present me, yours truly, with the Better Mag Diamond Award. Tickets are available for purchase, and a table may be secured for parties of 10 or more. Tickets can be secured by Cash App at $better, B-E-T-T-E-R, mag, M-A-G, better mag, or you can use paypal.me/bettermag, or simply contact Ronald Lambert at 516-272-0575. Remember, Better Mag Magazine is inviting you to their annual Diamond Award Gala on Saturday, March 25th, 2023, and they will award me, yours truly, with a Better Mag Diamond Award at Verdi's in Westchester, New York from 12 noon to 4 p.m. Now, check out the Eat Okra app for your every black-owned business all over the nation. Yes, that's right. Eat Okra. Now, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Please, ma'am, please, sir. More than ever, we need to make sure that we get vaccinated. This virus is not quite over yet. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for someone that you love. Anyone age of 5 and above are eligible to be vaccinated, boosted, and reboosted. Please, ma'am, please, sir, get vaccinated. I wanted to share this letter that I received from Better magazine with my Matters of Faith family. Dear Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, grace and peace be unto you from God our Father and our Lord Jesus Christ. Better Mag would like to thank you for allowing us to honor you and present you with the Better Mag Diamond Award at our annual Diamond Award Gala on Saturday, March 25th, 2023 at Birdie's in Westbury, New York from 12 noon to 4 p.m. We are serving a four-course delicious meal. Tickets are available for purchase and tables may be secured for parties of 10. You can use their Cash App, $Better Mag. That's $Better, Better, Mag, MAG. Or you can use PayPal. That's paypal.me/Better Mag. That's paypal.me/Better Mag. Or simply contact Ronald Lambert at 516-272-0575. 516-272-0575. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Ronald Lampert, 516-272-0575. And that was sent to me from Gloria Gant, CEO and publisher of Better Mag magazine. She was on my show just a couple of weeks ago. I hope you remember she's an awesome sister, and I'm honored and humbled to be their guest. Let me add this caveat. If you'd like to go to this gala event, reach out to Brother Ronald Lampert immediately at 516-272-0575. 516-272-0575. Just for the Matters of Faith family. They are offering discounted tickets if you call right now. That is, make sure that you call right now. 516-272-0575. There are discount tickets available to the Matters of Faith family if you reach out to Ronald Lampert right now. And now, the article. What would you request? What would you request? That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at www.thebronxchronicle.com. That's www.thebronxchronicle.com. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider online newspaper. Go to www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. That's the yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Matters of Faith and the article, What Would You Request? Second Chronicles chapter 1 verses 7 and 11 through 12, New Living Translation. That night God appeared to Solomon and said, "What do you want? Ask, and I will give it to you." God said to Solomon, "Because your greatest desire is to help your people, and you did not ask for wealth, riches, fame, or even the death of your enemies or a long life, but rather you asked for wisdom and knowledge to properly govern my people, I will certainly give you the wisdom and knowledge you requested. But I will also give you wealth, riches, and fame, such as no other king has had before you or will ever have in the future." What would you request? I've always found this story of Solomon one of the most fascinating and personally challenging stories in the Bible. Solomon was succeeding his father's reign as king of Israel and was being anointed by God himself. The Lord asked Solomon to tell him what he wanted, and he would give it to him. Here is where it gets fascinating and challenging for me. Before Solomon is given the mantle of king, the architect of the universe asked him what he desired more than anything else. Solomon didn't ask for fame or fortune. He didn't ask for power. He asked for wisdom to rule his people. I am personally challenged by Solomon's request. I find myself asking, what would I request should the Lord give me the same choice? Would I be as magnanimous as Solomon? Or would I ask for wealth, power, or fame, things that bring creature comforts? Remember, the Lord said, "Ask, and I will give it to you." I wonder what could have motivated Solomon to ask for wisdom. Perhaps it was his lineage as heir to the throne that prompted him to ask for wisdom. After all, he was going to inherit the entire kingdom and all of its wealth. I would argue that it was Solomon's humility and not his heritage that determined his request. Leading a nation is a monumental task that requires a great deal of wisdom to be done right. Many rise to power, but not all lead wisely. Solomon thought of the well-being of the kingdom before he thought of himself. He considered wise leadership to be of the utmost importance and more important than anything else. Because Solomon's greatest desire was to help his people, and because he did not ask for wealth, riches, fame, the death of his enemies, or even a long life, the Lord not only gave him the wisdom and the knowledge he requested, but added wealth, riches, and fame such as no other king has had before him or will ever have in the future. There is a takeaway here for each of us. If we consider the needs of others before our own, we may not only get the desires of our heart, but we may also get gifts and blessings the Lord wants us to have, which are far more than anything we could ever ask or think. When we put the needs of others before our own personal desires, the Lord just might do for us what he did for Solomon and pour out blessings that go beyond our wildest dreams. What's your request? Be blessed. Now, here's my question. What would be your request if the Lord told you that he would give you whatever you asked for? Let me ask that question again. What would be your request if the Lord told you that he would give you whatever you asked for? Oh, it gives me a great deal of pleasure tonight to introduce to you our special guest, Lady Dr. Denyse H. Turner. Dr. Turner is a pastor's widow seeking to help others in life-sensitive situations. As a certified Christian family counselor and certified trauma release specialist, she offers counseling and coaching to those who suspect negative behavior patterns developed from spiritual wounds and to help heal damaged areas of the heart. Did you hear that? She helps to heal damaged areas of the heart. The goal is to reconcile relationships with God and others and find your God intended purpose. She's often referred to as an evangelist to the heart. Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me tonight my very special guest, Lady Dr. Denyse H. Turner. Now that's what I'm talking about. Introducing this wonderful woman who's going to join me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just read her, gave you a little bit of background about her, and she's with us tonight. I'm trying to get her so you can turn that camera on and unmute herself. She will be with us tonight. I'm going to stop my share so that we can see each other face to face. And good evening and welcome to the Matters of Faith broadcast tonight. Sister Denyse, how are you? Where are you? Come on in, unmute yourself and speak to me. Talk to me.
I am trying. I'm having these issues tonight, physically and technologically.
There you go. There you go. There you go. You popped on live and in living color. I'm so glad to see you. And welcome. I really am glad to see you. Hey, listen, I read you a little bit, and you didn't give me a lot. I'm glad that you didn't, because this way you can introduce yourself and you can talk about you in ways that only you can do that. So let me ask you a question just to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
I read the little bio, but tell us something about you that we don't know and we really should know.
Ooh, something you should know.
What we should know, yes.
And I don't think a lot of people know the things I've been through. And I think that a lot of people assume that I am now different than I was. I am. I'm very different than I was, but I'm not bitter. And that's the difference. I don't think a lot of people realize that I am not bitter. So the things that I have been through, they have made me better, but not bitter.
Got it. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I'm better, not bitter.
That's right.
I like that. I like that a lot. That has a lot of ring to it. Matter of fact, that might preach one. I may preach that. Better, but not bitter.
Well, I'll give you permission to use that and just call my name.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Now, do me a favor, if you will. Would you unpack that just a little bit for us? Because when you tell people that you're better but not bitter, they often will wonder, what could you possibly be bitter about?
Mm. I will say, first of all, I've been a pastor's wife for 38 years. The last church that my husband pastored, he pastored for 28 of those 38 years. So I always tell people I lived a dream life because I felt that I did. My husband and I worked well together in life, in ministry, and we enjoyed each other's company.
Hmm.
And then everything changed. So toward the end, he was actually in a position of betrayal
Hmm.
by the church. And of course, that's my baby. That's my honey. That's my
Hmm.
baby daddy. And he was hurt. He
Hmm.
was extremely hurt. He was betrayed. And he actually, if I can cut this short, and you can just tell me how much you need, but for 4 months, he was in a facility to recuperate from a back surgery.
Hmm.
That's not anything major. I've had 2 back surgeries, but he stopped engaging in life, in conversations with people. The light of his life at that point was his grandkids.
Hmm.
And when they would call, especially my grandson, because he wanted to pray for his big daddy. And when he would call, he said, I can't talk to him. And I'm like, what's going on? I had them do a psych consult, and they said that he's okay. He's just a little depressed. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, he is. But he continued to decline over
Hmm.
4 months until he lost his will and his motivation to live.
Hmm.
And so I say, even just something like that, I could be bitter. We met each other at 5 years old in kindergarten. So we knew each other for 54 years. That's a long time,
Hmm.
54 years. And to not have him, I could be bitter. However, I had to go through my own experience with God because God told me and he showed me where I would look at my husband for consolation, for refuge, for help, assistance. And God said, where am I?
Hmm.
Oh, that's a good
Hmm.
question, God. That is a good question. I've just been a pastor's wife for so long. And there's certain types of wives in ministry. And I've always been the one who was in the background. And he knew it. I will do anything that you need in the background. I was not one to be out front. So knowing that, I always tell him if something went wrong, you pray us out.
Hmm.
You're the pastor, not me.
Hmm.
And he did. But I was wrong because I went to him before I went to God. And he said,
Hmm.
I'm your refuge. And you go to him before you come to me. So I had to struggle with that he transitioned in 2015. I struggled through all of that because it wasn't just the grief and the loss, but it was everything else on top of it. And so everything that I went through, God walked me through
Hmm.
so that I could become certified in helping people to handle, deal, and walk on the other side of trauma. And so if I had that mandate, if I had that assignment on my life, how could I mess it up? I was angry, but I did not want to become bitter, if that makes any sense. And,
Mm.
you asked me something earlier today. How did all of that feel? And I really had to think about that, because a lot of times when we go through a lot of different trauma experiences, emotions, feelings, we know that we're frustrated. We know we're anxious. We know that we're stressed. But do we really have the words to say, this is what it is, and this is how I'm feeling? So I had to really think about that. How did I feel? What was it that I was feeling? I knew I was angry. I knew I was upset. I was frustrated, but I really didn't know what I was walking through. I didn't know what God was taking me through.
Mm. Mm.
And so that made a huge difference in my life, because I realized I can't mess up. God showed me in 2016 the things that he wanted me to do. And actually, I want to be kind when I say this, but how? How can I do all of that? I know that for my entire ministry life, my entire married life, I had someone who had my back and who walked beside me. If there was something that I needed done, he did that. He did everything. If I needed a ride somewhere, he would always take me. If I did some type of event, he was always there, not just that day, but he was there to help me put it together. So how, God, am I supposed to do these things that you're showing me in 2016? How am I supposed to do them by myself? My husband is not here. He's not coming back. I can't do this alone. How could you ask me to do these things? I was feeling sorry for myself.
Mm.
I met with one of my good friends who is a major in the Army, and she helped me to put together a matrix for my life. And she said, I need you to write down the things that you need to do in order to get where you believe God wants you to go. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. So I spent a week by the water. Water always calms me.
Mm.
I spent a week by the water asking God, what is it that you want me to do? I need you to clarify that. And whatever it is that I need, I'm going to ask you for it, because I can't do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything that I'm carrying that I should not be carrying, I'm going to release it. And I did that. I released it in the water that week. The interesting thing is, this was the end of the 7 years that he had been gone.
Mm.
We know that 7 is a number of completion. Every November, because he passed just before Thanksgiving, it
Mm-hmm.
was a rough time for me, very rough. I would cry the entire month. This was in October, the end of the 7th year, the beginning of the 8th year, November. I didn't cry at all, because I knew that God had me in his hands. I knew he had me. So I didn't cry, and I have not cried since that time.
Mm.
This is my year of new beginnings. I never thought that I could do this. I never thought that he would take me through the things that I had been through, but he has, because he's a promise keeper. He is definitely a promise keeper. So, sometimes I just get to talking. I don't remember what the question was. So if I didn't answer your question, let me know.
Well, you asked your own question. You told me I asked you a question earlier that you answered, and that was fine. You said, "How do you feel?" So that was good. But you
Yeah.
said a number of things. Let me tell you some of the things I heard. Some of the things that I
Okay.
heard in your
Okay.
conversation, you're speaking with me.
Hmm.
Number one was the betrayal.
Hmm.
Now, I've had many guests that come on and talk about church hurt that's
Yeah.
more impacting than any other kind of hurt. And I guess that's because we tend to think that people in the church have somehow or another transition to a higher level of existence, and they don't do the things that you find in the world. And so when they do those things, it hurts even worse because you expect more of them. And so that hurt by the church, which depressed your husband, and then contributed to his physical demise, which obviously contribute to his ultimate surrendering of the spirit and going and transitioning into the land of the living. Because we are living in the land of the dying, right? This is not
Absolutely.
the place this is not our home. And so
Absolutely.
the other thing that you talked about that I heard was the longevity of your relationship.
Mhm.
And I was trying to figure out the numbers. I don't want to call your age or anything like that, but the numbers, you've been with him all of your life, and
Pretty
essentially
much.
since you were a little girl. And so it was a lifetime relationship. And then
Mhm.
the dependency that you had with your husband. What's his first name?
Gregory.
Gregory. Okay, let's call him
Mm.
by name. I think that's
Okay.
better.
Uh,
So Gregory, your relationship with Gregory took you to places that you didn't know that you could be on your own, because you were always with him.
yeah.
And then those things were removed because he was taken away. The Jesus said, "I'll come back and receive you unto myself," and that's exactly what he did. And he came back and received Gregory unto himself. And then the big question: how could you ask me to do these things all by myself? So sounded to me like, Lord, how could you? You wouldn't do that to me. I'm your child. Why would you hurt me like that?
Right.
No, I can't even imagine, can't even fathom me having to live my life without him. And I would imagine that somewhere in there, there's probably that statement that says, Lord, then just take me with him.
Ah, flesh and blood did not reveal that to you. I actually spoke those words. I said, God, I just don't want to stay here. Take me wherever he is. The thing with that is my daughter heard it. And she said, please don't say that again, because I've lost one parent and I can't afford to lose the only one I have left. I never said it again, but I felt it. I absolutely felt it. And I just thought that God would do things a little different. That's Denyse. Denyse thought
Mm,
God would do things a little differently. You know how long I've been with him. Nothing takes him by surprise.
mm-hmm,
He knows when we met. And to do this, to take him away from me, when you want me to do all of this, how? And one of the things that we always said, my husband and I always said, was we wanted to go together.
mm,
I can't tell you what that would have looked like. Whether we were, I don't know. I don't even know how that was going to look. But we didn't want to live without the other one. So we said,
mm,
let's go together. And so it is definitely something to be said for the longevity, for the relationship that I had with God. And was it always an impactful, a positive, fruitful relationship with God? Not always.
mm,
What I like about God is he's a big God.
mm-hmm.
He
Yes,
will
he is.
listen to your issues.
Mm,
He will listen to your problems. And then he'll say, let's go to work. Let's go to work. And so he didn't hold that against me because I was angry. He knew why I was angry. He didn't hold that against me. And I'm grateful for that.
Do me a favor. Would you talk about that for a moment? He did not hold that against me. Because a lot of times people don't think that they can be angry with God.
Uh, well, and I've been in church all of my life. And I think I understood you can be angry with God, but did I really believe it? And I think that that's where the disconnect comes in sometimes. People hear things through a sermon, or they hear things in their worship experience, and they just regurgitate what they hear. Do they believe it in their heart? Do they really believe it? And I had to come to that understanding. Because yeah, I understood. Yeah, people get mad at God. Is that right? Are we supposed to get mad at God? Or are we supposed to allow him to do everything? Everything that he feels he should do in our lives. Oh, I don't know whether I should do that. I don't know whether I should feel that. I have no clue. But I had to step out on faith and say, God, I am angry. I am angry. And so that was the beginning of how he started dealing with me. He knew I was angry. So he had to start right there where he was.
So it's interesting. I have a question for you, because it's actually the question that I'm going to ask everyone, that I've already asked them, but I'm going to ask it to you in a different way. Because you said that and you shared that with us. What was your request of the Lord when he said, ask me what you want? Just ask me what you want. Just tell me what you want. What did you ask for?
I didn't ask for anything initially. All I asked for was, let me back up, because let me start over. You know, when he asked, what is it that you want? What would you want me to do for you? I think most people ask for protection. They ask for transformation. They ask for restoration. And everything that I had been through, I needed all of those things. But when I got to the point of understanding what I should be asking for, I already knew he was going to do those things because he had been doing them. So I wasn't going to ask for those things. I had to ask for his will to be done in my life. You're showing me all of these things that you want me to do. I have pain every day. I pray to you as I'm desperate for help. I need to know that you care, that you love me. Be my refuge from pain. Replace my distress with peace and my strength when I feel weak. I knew those scriptures, but I never specifically asked for those things. I knew where it says we are not supposed to take revenge against anybody because that belongs to God. Did I want to avenge that situation? I absolutely did. But I had to come to the understanding, like, God is going to take care of this. I know he's going to take care of this because Romans 12:19 tells us that he wants us to trust him. It is mine to avenge. I will repay. So I understood that. And I had to say, okay, well, what else is there that I need to ask for? You're showing me this stuff. Okay, so I need to ask for your will to be done. That is all I asked for because I knew I've been serving people pretty much all my life, even before I was in that ministry. As a teenager, I was giving back to kids as I was teaching a Saturday school. I always served people. So I knew it at some point, I can't change that. That's who I am. That's who I am. So I really can't change that. So God, I need your will to be done. I want to help people. And he gave me the topic to deal with. He gave me the topic. All right. So there are people who have gone through what you've been through. So I had to realize I wasn't the only one.
Mm.
There are people who have been through what you've been through. There are people who have been through more than
Mm.
you've been through.
Mhm.
And so I knew I had to help them. You know, some of the things that happened as a result of that grief and that loss was I became homeless. My daughter
Wow.
and I were homeless for 14 months.
Wow.
And me,
So question on that. Did the church have a parsonage?
yes. And they asked me to leave.
Mm.
They asked me to leave.
You're
Um,
not the first, you're not the first leading lady that I've heard that happen to. And in
okay,
fact, let me just divert for a minute if you don't mind. I just want to share this with you.
this is
I've
your
been in the
show.
financial services business for a long time. And I was in the insurance business initially, and still am. And one of the things I noticed is that churches were not treating their pastors well, particularly the widows, because they were doing just what you said. They were not giving them the opportunity to live should the pastor pass away, go on to be, go home to be with the Lord. It
Mhm.
was happening more and more frequently.
Right.
And so I actually started focusing on that specifically to help churches do exactly what you said that your pastor had or your husband had, the health insurance, the life insurance, all of those things that were necessary. And instead of the parsonage, the housing allowance, so that you would be able to stay, because many pastors, 28 years, that's where you grew up at. That's your life. And
Absolutely.
when it's over, you
It's
got to
gone.
go. Got
It's
to
gone.
go. We got a new pastor.
Yeah,
He needs the residence. She needs the residence. She got to go. Where do you
absolutely.
go? Where do you go?
Hmm.
You just sort of like, I guess you're kind of like what Sarah did to her maidservant. Just leave. Get
Just
out.
go. Yeah.
Go. So I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to say that because
No,
that's near and dear to my heart.
absolutely. And what's funny about that is I think I had heard that a couple times
Mm-hmm.
prior to all of this. However, it became very evident afterwards. And it's like, when you get a new car, you get a blue car, you've never seen blue cars before. All of a sudden, all of these blue cars you see all the time.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think it's something like that. I've heard that before, but it was after this experience that I
Mm.
all of a sudden started hearing so many
Many. Yeah.
widows who
Like
are in
stories.
that
Yeah.
type of,
Yeah.
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 And I still work with a group of widows, and we talked about that before. We talked about that before because there's so many who have gone through that like experience. And so, and God will just show you things that you're not looking for.
Mm.
He will show you things when it's your time to know. And I always say he will show you information and mark it FYI. This is just for your information, but here it is.
Mm.
And so we talk about the numbers of wives who go through that type of experience. And that was the first group of people that I wanted to target.
Mm.
I've also thought about working with pastors, ministers who have gone through that type of experience. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know. That was something that Denyse wants to do. But could that be of value? Because I've
Well,
looked at the statistics.
yeah, yeah.
I've looked at the statistics, and they're not pretty.
And let me share this with you too, because I've worked with a lot of churches that are not of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Happens in their churches too.
Yeah.
It's not unique to
Mm-hmm.
the diaspora of
Mm-hmm.
African descent. It
Right.
happens everywhere. In fact, I did a retreat once. I went to Tennessee, and it was for the retreat was set up for people who have been pastors and have been broken, hurt. And they go to this retreat and they spend, I think it was 3 days there. They're ministered to, they are cooked for, they are given just, not lectures, but just group sessions where they sit and talk. And they are able to go out and just enjoy nature and just kind of pull themselves with the Lord's help back together.
Yeah.
Happens to everyone.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere. And it's not unique to the Christian experience either.
Mm.
And that's the challenge that we have. When you said homelessness, it rang a bell for me because, when someone thinks about someone being homeless, they often think about someone who is indigent, or they're lazy and slothful and all these other things that they put in their minds. But that's not what homelessness is all about.
Absolutely. That is not always the case.
Nope.
Because I'm well learned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm educated. And so it's not about the indigency.
Right.
If that is a word.
Yep.
It was about the situation that
Right.
happened subsequent to the loss and the grief on that journey. And that's what it was about for me. And so because I had worked with him for the last 15 years side by side, I didn't even have a job during that time.
Mm.
I worked in ministry. And did I get paid in ministry? Do we get paid in ministry? No. I didn't get paid. And so when that happened, I had no income. He was my income. He took care of me. He took care of us. So I had nothing. And so at that point, when somebody asks you to leave now, what do? You have no income.
Mm.
And that is what happened to me. So it wasn't about being poor. I was poor.
Mm.
And I don't even want to say that. I didn't have the disposable cash at that point. But it wasn't about not knowing anything. I knew how to move forward. Was I able to?
Mm.
Because all of these things had affected me not just physically. I mean, I was physically ill for a while.
Mm.
But it affected me emotionally. It affected me psychologically. It affected me financially. And so when you talk about trauma, that was the main trauma. I lost my
Right.
husband.
Right.
But then there's these subsequent losses. And that calls for complex trauma. And a lot of people don't realize that. But I suffered through the complexity of the traumas that I was experiencing.
Now you do this counseling now for others, and you talk about complex. In fact, that was in your bio, complex trauma. Can you unpack that a little bit? Because when I think about, and we're going to get to the article, those of you who are watching and say, where's the article at? The article is everywhere. The topic is all in our conversation. But when you talk about complex trauma, you're talking about things that are what I call byproducts of the major, but you have a lot of ancillary things that take place that a lot of people don't necessarily see on the surface, but they're there, they're present,
Right.
they can become cumulative, they can add up, and when they add up, I think it was Dr. Thomas Holmes that talks about life change units. Each thing has a value to it. He put a point system to it, and the more points you accumulate, then you're prone for things like depression, illnesses, and even death. And so the major component, one of the major components or the major contributors is the death of a spouse.
Right.
Has a high number, big number that moves you closer to that breaking point. But then that complex trauma, those things that you just mentioned, that circle around, it's like the stagecoach or the stage, the what do they call it, the wagon train, that circles and goes around, but it's a part of, and you can't separate it.
You can't, because one thing builds on the other. One thing impacts another.
Such as, give me what kinds of things, what kind of things would happen with a person, and not necessarily you, but when a person loses their significant other, what kinds of things take place?
Yeah, there's so many different things that a widow has to contend with. You're now responsible for liquidating the life of your loved one. You first of all are devastated, and now I have to get rid of everything. It took me about a year to really get rid of everything. And I haven't gotten rid of everything, but what I had to do was I had to change the bank account. His name was on the bank account. I had to dispose of his vehicles. He had more than one vehicle. And every time you go through something like that, it is extra trauma.
Yeah.
And it takes you back to the beginning. And so they're triggers. They're absolute triggers that will take you back, make you feel just like day one. Even with the loss. So being a pastor, the church was decorated by the city because he was also a chaplain for the city for 20 years. So they came by to decorate the church and put the flag up and all of that. I didn't expect that then. And when I went to the church and turned the corner and saw that flag there, that was rough. And I screamed. I actually screamed. And I only remember this because my daughter told me. I screamed. And so that was something else on top of everything else. I had an interaction with one of the members of the church. That was trauma on top of trauma. I was on the phone with her and she's screaming. This was the day after. My daughter-in-law was standing across the room and she said, wait, is she screaming like this? So she came and took the phone from me. All of these little things, they build up. And a lot of people don't realize, and sometimes it's difficult to deal with things one by one because they just come like this. They just keep coming. And that is what's called complex trauma. So I knew that I was going nowhere fast. I knew that. And these things just started building and building and building. I haven't even told you about what happened after all of that. However, before I got to the other things that happened, God had already shown me, I got you. I got you. I don't need you to worry about things that you don't need to worry about. And how did he show me? So I had lost my home. We were homeless. I lost a lot of furniture. I
Mm.
lost my income. I lost my integrity. I lost
Mm.
my business. I lost everything that
My
meant
mind.
my
Lost my
mind.
mind.
Yes, everything that meant anything to me, I lost. And so God started showing me things. Um, he showed me a place where I could heal. He showed me a place where I could get the training that I needed to do what he wanted me to do. And I look back on this, I'm like, you took me through all of that just so you wanted me to work with people who are
Hmm.
going through things I went through? Could we have done that a little easier? But he got I became certified in these things. And so he started building me up. 3 years after my husband's transition, God restored everything in my life,
Mm.
everything. I had a
Mm.
brand new apartment. I had brand new furniture. I had brand new transportation. And I knew that it was God because there were things that happened that I was never able to do. So, I mean, remember, I've been homeless. My credit is shot.
Mm.
How could I get a new apartment? But he connected me with people that were designed to assure me that I'm going to help you to do some of these things. And that is what happened. So 3 years after his transition, I had everything that I needed. Everything. Now, what happened after that?
Mm.
um, I reconnected with a high school sweetheart,
Mm.
and I I love this man. We connected in high school, and
Mm.
so just so happened that he moved where I am now, and I asked, well, what are you doing out there? And he said, I came out for the weather and to get a surgery. So I was, and I take the responsibility for this. I take the
Mm.
responsibility because I was still in a vulnerable state.
Mm.
And I know that he could see that I was in a vulnerable state. And so there were things that he did that devastated me. Long story short, I was in an abusive relationship,
Mm. Oh, this is
physical,
the high school sweetheart.
high school sweetheart.
The rekindling of old joys
Yes,
brought new trauma.
absolutely. And when you talk about complex trauma, I'm just getting over this other stuff.
Mm.
And the very first time that I hit the floor, I was 61 years old.
Mm.
And how does somebody my age get into a situation like that? How? And so that was more trauma on top. And then I was incarcerated. So when you talk about things that don't make sense based on the person, you cannot second guess it. You cannot, because things happen with people. We are people. And the other thing that we have to think about is God will allow some things in our lives
Mm.
to help us become a better person, to build up our character. And so when I tell you now, I've already said I'm not bitter, I'm better. However, I'm Denyse 2.0 now. I'm upgraded. I am upgraded. And so God allowed these things to happen. And at the same time, nothing takes him by surprise. And when I said he protected and he provided for me, that's exactly what he did. Because I know I needed to get out of that situation. And so I had no money to do that. I was working at that time, but I didn't have the money to do it. And so, and I was like, God, I know I'm your problem child. How am I going to get out? And a lot of people don't get out of situations like that.
That's right. They sure don't.
And, I'm reminded of one of the scriptures that says, when God calls your name twice, watch out. He said, Denyse, Denyse. It's like, I know, it's me again. But that particular month, he sent extra money for me to get out. He sent a new apartment for me to go right into. I didn't have to wait. These are things I couldn't do. So I know it was nobody but God. I know it was nobody but God. And this is why he just built my confidence so much that I had no choice but to trust him, lean on him, and depend on him.
Now, and had you taken the other option, and the other option was, when your husband died, to go along with him. And some people decide that that's the route that they want to take, and they take action to make it happen, that we going together. And they commit suicide, literally. Yeah. And sometimes they do it slowly. They just give up on life, so to speak, and let life kind of take its toll. But you didn't do that. You didn't do that. Now, you may not have asked the Lord for wisdom. You may not have asked the Lord, said, Lord, give me another opportunity. But what you did do, and I believe this, in my spirit, I feel this, that you said, Lord, give me life. Just give me life. And I'll do with life whatever it is that you need me to do. And consequently, he said, okay, now I can open doors for you, because your submissiveness gives me an opportunity to work with you. God can't work with arrogance,
Absolutely.
He won't. He'll just let you do what you will, as long as that's his permissive will. Just go ahead and do what you do. Then when you run out of steam, run out of energy, hopefully you'll still have something left that I can work with, because, if you didn't kill yourself in the process. But he doesn't work with arrogance. He works with humility.
Right.
He works with humility. Get arrogant, he'll just simply release you. Just open his hand, and he won't push you out, but he just open your hand and let you walk, if that's what you choose to do. It's fascinating. Let me do this. It's almost 9 o'clock. So at the top of the hour, what I do is this: I want to go back. I want to reintroduce everyone to what we've been talking about. I'm going to share my screen for just a moment, so that everybody's on the same page. They can see your lovely smile on the screen, and so on and so forth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize my sponsors and advertisers and give some other announcements, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're going to come back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to engage the audience in our conversation. So I've asked the question, what would be your request if the Lord told you that he would give you whatever you asked for? What would be your request? And that's the question I'm going to ask tonight. That's the question I'm asking. And when we come back, we're going to start looking at some of the responses that people have made so far. And I'm challenging you, viewers, to actually start to engage that question, because if you've watched before, that's what we do. And you will become a part of our conversation. And then we will finish the hour out by engaging in a dialogue that includes you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disappear for a second. I'm going to be ghost for a moment. And you can do likewise if you want. You can take your screen off if you want to do that. And what we will do is I will just go ahead and do the announcements and other things like that. And we'll just go from there. All right? Is that fair?
Okay.
All right. So
That's
let me
fair.
go down And then here we go. Are the trustees in your church aware of their fiduciary responsibilities? Are the disciples of your church aware of God's biblical economic strategies and how to best apply them in their own personal situation? Are you looking to build, refinance, develop your church property? Well, if so, the JLR company, J. Lauren R. Consulting LLC, is here to help. Just give us a call at 718-328-8096. That's 718-328-8096. You can also visit us on our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. At the JLR Company, it's not about the castle, it's about the kingdom. Get your copy of Matters of Faith, the book. Matters of Faith, the book can be purchased using my Cash App at $Matters of Faith. The book is $22.80. You can also get it by sending a check or money order to the JLR Company, P.O. Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York City, New York 10035. You can also get it as an ebook. All you have to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Whether you purchase using the Cash App, send a check or money order, or get it as an ebook, you need to have the book Matters of Faith. Better Mag Magazine invites you to their annual Diamond Award Gala on Saturday, March 25th, 2023 at Verdi's in Westbury, New York. From 12 noon to 4 p.m. They will present me, yours truly, with the Better Mag Diamond Award. Tickets are available for purchase, and a table may be secured for parties of 10 or more. Tickets can be secured by Cash App at $better, B-E-T-T-E-R, MAG, M-A-G, Better Mag, or you can use PayPal.me/BetterMag, or simply contact Ronald Lambert at 516-272-0575. Remember, Better Mag Magazine is inviting you to their annual Diamond Award Gala on Saturday, March 25th, 2023, and they will award me, yours truly, with a Better Mag Diamond Award at Verdi's in Westchester, New York from 12 noon to 4 p.m. Now, check out the Eat Okra app for your every black-owned business all over the nation. Yes, that's right. Eat Okra. Now, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Let me make one correction. The Eat Okra app is for black-owned restaurants all over the nation. If you don't have the app, make sure that you get it. And the other thing, Better Mag Magazine's annual Diamond Award Gala on Saturday, March 25th, has made arrangements by offering discounted tickets to the Matters of Faith family, but you must get in touch with Ron Lampert ASAP. Call him at 516-272-0575. Let me say that again. Call Ronald Lampert at 516-272-0575 and tell him that you're calling from the Matters of Faith family, and they will give you discount tickets. Sell you discount tickets. God bless you. Please, ma'am, please, sir, more than ever, we need to make sure that we are vaccinated. Anyone 5 years of age and above are eligible, and even those under 5 can be vaccinated, and the vaccines are free. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for someone that you love. You know I love you, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it, so get used to it. Oh, and get vaccinated. And now, the article. What would you request? What would you request? That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at www.thebronxchronicle.com. That's www.thebronxchronicle.com. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider online newspaper. Go to www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. That's the yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Matters of Faith, and the article, What Would You Request? 2 Chronicles chapter 1 verses 7 and 11 through 12, New Living Translation. That night God appeared to Solomon and said, "What do you want? Ask, and I will give it to you." God said to Solomon, "Because your greatest desire is to help your people, and you did not ask for wealth, riches, fame, or even the death of your enemies or a long life, but rather you asked for wisdom and knowledge to properly govern my people, I will certainly give you the wisdom and knowledge you requested. But I will also give you wealth, riches, and fame, such as no other king has had before you or will ever have in the future." What would you request? I've always found this story of Solomon one of the most fascinating and personally challenging stories in the Bible. Solomon was succeeding his father's reign as king of Israel and was being anointed by God himself. The Lord asked Solomon to tell him what he wanted, and he would give it to him. Here is where it gets fascinating and challenging for me. Before Solomon is given the mantle of king, the architect of the universe asked him what he desired more than anything else. Solomon didn't ask for fame or fortune. He didn't ask for power. He asked for wisdom to rule his people. I am personally challenged by Solomon's request. I find myself asking, what would I request should the Lord give me the same choice? Would I be as magnanimous as Solomon? Or would I ask for wealth, power, or fame, things that bring creature comforts? Remember, the Lord said, "Ask, and I will give it to you." I wonder what could have motivated Solomon to ask for wisdom. Perhaps it was his lineage as heir to the throne that prompted him to ask for wisdom. After all, he was going to inherit the entire kingdom and all of its wealth. I would argue that it was Solomon's humility and not his heritage that determined his request. Leading a nation is a monumental task that requires a great deal of wisdom to be done right. Many rise to power, but not all lead wisely. Solomon thought of the well-being of the kingdom before he thought of himself. He considered wise leadership to be of the utmost importance and more important than anything else. Because Solomon's greatest desire was to help his people, and because he did not ask for wealth, riches, fame, the death of his enemies, or even a long life, the Lord not only gave him the wisdom and the knowledge he requested, but added wealth, riches, and fame such as no other king has had before him or will ever have in the future. There is a takeaway here for each of us. If we consider the needs of others before our own, we may not only get the desires of our heart, but we may also get gifts and blessings the Lord wants us to have, which are far more than anything we could ever ask or think. When we put the needs of others before our own personal desires, the Lord just might do for us what he did for Solomon and pour out blessings that go beyond our wildest dreams. What's your request? Be blessed. Now, here's my question. What would be your request if the Lord told you that he would give you whatever you asked for? Let me ask that question again. What would be your request if the Lord told you that he would give you whatever you asked for? My Matters of Faith family, you have already been introduced to my guest and she has represented herself well. So would you please welcome with me again my very special guest this evening, Lady Dr. Denyse H. Turner. Okay, that brings me back. That brings you back. I'm going to stop my share and we're going to get right into this thing. I want to read this question to you. I want to read a statement that was written by one of our viewers. He's been a guest on my show many, many times. He always has these profound thoughts that he shares with us. And this time he shares one that his pastor shared with them on this past Sunday, I believe it was. Yeah, on Sunday, my pastor touched upon crutches, the things we lean on because we're not strong enough to stand. He talked about the times when God removes the crutches because we have reached the point where we don't need them. Some struggle because they don't believe they're strong enough to stand without them, or they have become too comfortable with the presence of the crutches. God wants us to move as he has designed us to move because we need to move, change position, as he needs us to move. It hurts sometimes, but he will yank away the crutches because they have changed from being a help for our positioning to being a hindrance to our position. I like that, Darryl. That's a profound statement. As usual, we always come through with something that challenges us in our thinking capacity, and that's true. I think that for most of us, if we're challenged to by the Lord to be His disciple, that we're often asked to do things and to go places that we don't feel we're quite equipped for, and so He'll equip us. And sometimes that equipping is like pruning, pruning a tree or pruning a branch. It hurts, but when it gets through, my God, look at the blossoming flowers and the fruit that grows from that. But it doesn't. It's not comfortable to be pruned.
Not an easy process.
Nope, 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 nope. So my cousin says, with my help, I can do for others in their time of need. We all need help at times. You never know when. And that, so I like to say there, but by the grace of God, go I.
Oh, I.
It could be me, could be you. If it's not you today, it could be you tomorrow.
Right.
So I think that's good. So let me ask you the question also. Let me ask you the question. What would you ask for? And this is an interesting question for you because you have shared so much with us tonight. But what would you ask for if the Lord told you that He would give you whatever you asked for?
I think to simplify it, I would say, I just want your will to be done. But that's rather simple.
Yeah,
I
churchy,
think
right?
I think in my situation, if I wanted to avenge somebody, I probably would ask that. If I wanted to increase my finances, I don't think there would be anything wrong in asking for that. If I wanted a nice place to live, I would ask for that. But as I started thinking about these things, it was like, God, you've already shown me what you want me to do. And I think my impetus for going along with that was not necessarily for the will, the discernment, and the wisdom. I was scared of God. I was scared of God because He had done so many things in my life that I never dreamed possible. And so I knew that I couldn't mess this up. You've shown me hundreds and thousands of people that I would speak to. You've shown me people that I would work with one-on-one.
Right.
You've shown me 2 books to write and book signings to go through. How could I say no? I was scared. I was scared. So if I think about that, it was give me what I need in order to do your will. What do I need in order to make these things happen? And that's one thing that I did when I was away and sitting by the water.
Right.
What is it? These are some of the things that I need. And if I'm going to do these, I need to have this, this, and this. So it was His will. It was, and then He started connecting me with people like right away. This was like a week, like a Monday through Friday. That Sunday, I was at Aretha Franklin's father's church. And I was sitting there. I was probably not paying attention too well, but I heard a lady say, I've been through childhood trauma. My ears perked up. This has been a person that I have connected with, and I believe that's God ordained, and we have worked together to do trauma workshops. So He's connected me with people. And I know that it's because I yielded my will to His. I know it's because of that. So I would not want to do anything that would jeopardize his plans for me, that would negatively impact his plans in my life. I already knew he was going to give me strength to do it because he told me. I just needed the wisdom to look at people and to see, okay, so God, this is somebody that you're sending. Give me the discernment to look at people and to see if this is a person who is going to help me to do what it is you're asking me to do. So there are several things there, and that's the will, yield my will to his, to give me the discernment and the wisdom for the connections that he was making in my life. Even down to the books. I don't know anything about writing books. I don't know the first thing about who can help me to write a book. But he
And how many have you written now?
I'm in the process of the first one. The first
Okay.
book launch is September.
Okay.
But he connected me with a person who is an editor and a host. He hosts book launches. And so I know there was nothing but God. And so continue to give me what I need in order to make sure that your will is done in my life. I couldn't ask for anything for Denyse. I think I would feel kind of bad if I asked God, I just need $100,000 and I'll be good. I'll be good the rest of my life. Or I need a new car. Or I need a new place. Or God, fix my mind. Fix my mind. But I wanted my focus to be on what he wants, because I know that what he wants is to help other people. And I already knew that there's so many people who were already suffering, already denying what they've been through. I spoke with somebody last night, and she asked me to pray for her. And one thing that I told her, she said, I just try to stay busy so I don't have to think about it. I think a lot of times we do that because we want to stay busy.
Right.
But if you do not feel those things, if you do not address those issues, they're going to come back up. They're going to come back up. And especially those people who have dealt with childhood trauma. You've had this for years. And it just does not go away unless you work on the issues, unless you address those issues and ask God.
Well, what's interesting about that is that if you talked about people just staying busy, that's no different than a person indulging in alcohol or drugs.
Absolutely. It numbs the pain.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So if you don't learn confrontation, Jesus said, I've come to confront some things. I've come to challenge some things and make things uncomfortable for you. So to live in that, and that's why I asked you, how did you feel? To live in that feeling is challenging. It means that you have to experience the hurt that exists there, but it's the only way for you to get out. The only way for you to get out of the drug use, the only way to get out of alcohol abuse, the only way for you to get out of an abusive relationship is that if you live in the hurt, and then you can get out of it. But if you ignore it, if you try to water it down, it's not going anywhere. You're just escaping it for a moment.
It's going to be right there.
It's right there.
And what that does is you are allowing more trauma to
Build up.
Build up. And what
That's what you're talking about.
happens?
What did you call it? You called it that trauma that is just complex. It just keeps
Complex
adding.
trauma. And what happens when you build up trauma? If you've just been through one traumatic experience, you got some things that you've got to deal with. There are people who've not even experienced it. But if we think about 9/11, there's some people who were not in New York.
Right.
Yet they were traumatized because they heard about it and they experienced that pain. So if you allow trauma to build up, it becomes packed down. And what happens when you allow things to become pressurized? It explodes.
It explodes. Boom.
It has no place to go.
Right. Right.
And when you say, well, how does it explode? Well, it presents itself in negative behavior patterns. And so if you decide that you just want to avoid the issues, not work on the issues, that is what's going to happen. That is exactly what's going to happen. And so I think what I felt, and I actually did not even think about all of this until I first spoke with you. I knew what I was feeling. I knew the emotions. I knew I was angry. I knew I was frustrated. I knew I was stressed. But what does that mean? What does that really mean? And when I think about it, it is, oh, now I can really give a name to what I've been feeling. Really give a name to it, and to tell people this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. And this is how you can walk through it. And I mean, I just believe that this is what God had in mind, because so many people do not confront, they do not address those issues. So it just builds up. It builds up.
Yep, it builds up tremendously. And I don't know if explode is the right word. I think implode is a better word.
Implode.
Because it takes place on the inside.
Inside.
And on the outside, you may look perfectly well. You know,
Absolutely.
perfectly well. But on the inside, you're falling apart.
You're sick.
You know, everything is going wrong. There's nothing you can do about it. It's, you know, you feel like you're trapped. What am I going to do about this? And so the question that I asked tonight with regard to the article was, what would you, ask for if the Lord told you that he would give you the desires of your heart? Now, I don't know if I could be as magnanimous as Solomon was and ask for it. I like your honesty, because, I don't know. I remember, I'll give you, for instance, I remember some years ago, I remember the year specifically because it was I think it was the year I graduated from seminary, which was around 2006, 2005 actually, because I was just finishing my last class, and I had to preach that evening, and so I was driving to my college, to the seminary, and it was about, it's about 50 minutes from New York City. It's out in Madison, New Jersey, and my car was failing. I mean, Lord knows I just got there on the skin of my teeth, because it was like, just literally, I got into the parking lot, had time to run to the seminary hall. And as soon as I walked in, they were calling my name to preach. That was my last class. I was this preaching class. I had to preach. So I got there in time enough to preach. I preached my sermon. And I said, Lord, you're calling me into this ministry. You said a call to ministry is a call to preparation. I've done that. But I can't do this work without a car. There's no way I can do it without a car. I need a car. I need a reliable car, something that I can rely on. The Lord said to me, almost as clear as you're talking to me, go to the dealership and lay your hand on whatever car you want and you can have it. And I said, well, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. And I was talking to a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, and she is, oh man, she just has been a walking, talking inspiration since I met her over 40 years ago.
Mm.
And told her what happened. She said, did you go? I said, what do you mean? She says, did you go? I said, I thank the Lord for it. She said, no. You have to go there and put your hand on that car. You can't, no, you have to go. You got to go. And I said, I'll be there tomorrow. I went the next day. I walked into the dealership, and it happened to be a friend of mine. He was a fellow, I'm in the Rotary Club. He's a fellow Rotarian. And I walked in. I said, Frank, I got to see, I need a car. He said, come see me. I walked into the showroom, and I saw a car. And I put my hand on it. I said, Lord, I thank you for this car. I promise you that I will use it to your glory, that your name will be glorified. I'll use it to edify your people and terrify Satan. Thank you. I walked over to the salesperson. I said, Frank, I said, I need a car. He said, okay, Lauren, no problem. You know, you got it. Let me ask you a question. What's your salary? I said, I'm not working. He said, what? I said, I don't have an income. He said, well, what did you earn last year? And I told him. He said, okay, we'll use that. He wrote that down. He said, well, you know, I need a deposit from you. Can you give me X number of dollars? He wrote it. I said, yeah, I can do that. So he said, can you afford? And he gave me a number. And I said, yeah, I might be able to afford a little bit more. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. If I put down more money over here, will I be able to pay less over there? I'm leasing the car. He said, yeah, we can work that out. So he worked that out. So I said, well, Frank, I don't really have an income. My income is sporadic. I'm doing consulting and stuff like that. It's just sporadic. He said,
Right.
don't worry about it. I'll take you. Don't worry about it. He said, call me tomorrow. I drove that car, and I had an old Cadillac, an Eldorado, classic. The engine was just failing. I bought it from a mechanic a couple of years before that. And I think I gave him $1,200 for the car. I took the car back to him 2.5 years later. He bought it back for me, $1,200. So the car didn't cost me anything.
Wow.
And so I went to the dealer gave me the car. He said, come get it. I brought the license plate. He took the license plate off my old car, put on the new car, took the old car home, drove it without the license, took it to my mechanic. He took it. That was it in the story. And I've had 8 cars since then.
And who did it?
God did it. All of it. All of it.
And I think a lot of times we go through our feelings and our emotions, and we are stuck on them. And we don't think God is allowing this for some reason. He's allowing this to build me up, to show me that he is God.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we don't think about those things, and we just get all excited, all upset, all frustrated, instead of stopping.
Right.
And I had a similar experience just last week. I went traveling, and so I went to take my rent-a-car back, and the tires started losing pressure. I'm like, what's going on? I got to, well, first of all, I had to get off the highway, go find a gas station, put some air in the tire. But when I got to the airport, the gentleman who checked me in said, did this cause you any inconvenience? And so I said, not really, because I was on my way to the airport. He said, I'm going to ask you again.
Yeah.
Did this cause you any inconvenience? I'm like, okay, yeah, it did. And I just thought about it. I had to get off the highway. I had to go to a gas station. That was inconvenience. My bill was almost $400. And when he worked on that bill, it was $96. And sometimes we just don't allow God to do his work.
That's right. We fight against it.
We
You know, it's
fight.
interesting. That's so interesting. It reminded me of a story. I had to drive down to to Maryland for a business trip. I was working, I was doing denominational work. So I was working doing work. And I was coming back, and I was on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Mm.
And I rented a car, rented it from LaGuardia Airport. I'm on the turnpike. I'm like at exit number 6 or 8, just before you get to the Newark Airport, right? And there's this long stretch of highway between exits. I'm driving in the left-hand lane. The car cut off.
Mm.
I pulled over. I'm thankful that they had a lane on the right side. So I pulled over on that side. I'm in this lane. Car would not start. The car just completely shut down. So I called the rental car agency. They said, okay, well, we will send you a tow truck. So they can only send certain tow trucks because you have to be licensed to pick up cars on the turnpike. Right. So they picked me up. They took me off at the next exit, took me to a hotel. Now, I could have stayed at the hotel all night and I could have charged it to the company. Mm-hmm. But I said, no, I want to go home. I'm tired. I've been out 3 days. I'm tired. I want to go home. Mm-hmm. So, I sat in that hotel waiting for the tow truck to come to get it from the rental car agency. They brought another car for me to drive for 4 hours. I left that hotel at 4 o'clock in the somewhere about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Drove to the airport, got my car, left, went home. They didn't charge me anything. They eliminated the bill, and they gave me, I think, 25 vouchers. This was worth about $2,000.
Wow.
So every time I rented a car, I gave them a voucher. They took off $200 or something. It's amazing. It's like, get out of here. So they said, no, you were absolutely inconvenienced in here. No charge. So they did treat me well. So you reminded me that sometimes, you have to move out of the way and let God do his work.
Did you hear what I said? When he asked, was I inconvenienced?
That's right. You were about to say, you said no.
I said, not really. That was my heart. I was about to turn down my blessing.
Yep.
We have to get out of God's way.
Yep. Move out the way. Just let him do his thing. Let God do what God does. Circumstances and situations are his tools.
Right.
He uses them to be a blessing to us.
Right.
But it's like, I do financial counseling. And so I remember speaking to a young lady. She worked at a church. She was a secretary. And I'd done a workshop for them, a biblical economic workshop. And she told me, she says, I don't understand this. She says, I work all the time. I do good. And I try to do good for everybody. And, I just can't seem to make ends meet ever. She said, and I'll give you the shirt off my back. She said, I come here, if people ask me, I'll do it because I want to. And then they offer me something for it. I say, no, I want to do it. That's what I want. I want to give this to you. I said, but I said, therein lies your issue. She says, what do you mean? I said, you don't know how to say thank you. People are coming to you. The Lord has placed it on their heart to give you something because the Lord laid it on your heart to give them something. The Bible says, give and it shall be given. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give unto your bosom. Every time they desire to give it, you turn it down. You break the cycle. Mm-hmm. So God can't bless you because you keep blocking the blessing.
Absolutely.
You have to learn to say thank you. When I told her that, I went back a couple of months later. When I walked through the door, this woman jumped up out of her seat, ran to me and hugged me and told me that what I told her changed her life. She says, the blessings that the Lord has bestowed upon me, I can't even begin to tell you. I said, I'm so glad to hear it. I said, so you learned to get out of the Lord's way.
Yes.
She said, yes, I have. And
Oh,
she was smiling. She was happy. Her bills were paid. Her rent was on time. You know, because when you give, the Lord gives in return. It's just natural order of things, unless you block it.
and that's not always our first thought. That's not always our first place that
Right.
we go to. And we have to learn how to stand back, be in a position of gratitude, understand that God is working and he's going to work things for our good, but he
Yep.
also going to get the glory.
Yep. Yep.
Because
Yep.
there are things that we can't do.
Right.
He's going to get the
Right.
glory.
And so, you know, Jesus is a profound, a profound. No, let me take that back. Let me take that back. Jesus is God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make that clear. That's my faith. That's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
And his position with God the Father gives him the power to be God in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown us all of the things that are possible. He not only healed the sick, as Gloria said that she would ask the Lord, she said, I would ask the Lord to allow me to heal people, lay hands on them. He not only said greater things than these shall you do, healing the sick, raising the dead, not the dead that's lying in the casket, but the dead who's walking around without life. They're breathing, they're talking, they're eating, but they're dead.
Right.
Raising the dead, healing the sick, nurturing those who are less fortunate, and giving abundant life to those who are walking and sharing in God's love. All of those things he's given to us. He says the access to all of this is through me. If you trust me. But sometimes we don't trust him. We'd rather do it ourselves.
We don't trust him. Do not trust him. And I credit my daughter because I was dead and I wanted to go the physical route.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, don't ever say that again.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it, but I didn't want to upset her and say it.
Mm-hmm.
So I credit her with changing how I moved.
Mm-hmm.
I had to change how I moved, and I had to allow God to be God. So I don't
When
even know
that
if I ever
happened,
told her that though.
yeah, I mean, when that happened, right? It's so amazing. One of my friends, he's a psychologist, and when I met him, I don't know, almost 50 years ago now, he
You're not
said
even 50
something.
years old.
Yeah, I'm a little older than that, but I love the way you think. I love it. But I'm a bit older than that. But
Okay.
he said something that was so profound, so profound to me, that I determined that I would start seeing him and let him be my psychologist to help me work out some things. He said, and you said it, and we talked about it all night, you have to learn how to get out of your own way. And I didn't quite know what that meant, because I was going through a lot of stuff. I was trying to handle a lot of things in my life. And so what I did was I literally started seeing this gentleman back in 1982 at a cost of $65 a session.
That long ago was 65?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, right. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, it was back then.
I wouldn't make about $200 a week. I was like, get out of here.
That was a lot back then.
I did it because I knew that I had these issues that I had to deal with. I had to get them out. I had to learn how to navigate.
Right.
And had I not done that, I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Absolutely.
And he and I became great friends, really, really good friends. We're still good friends today. We don't talk a lot, but whenever we communicate, it's like, we just pick up where we left off. But he's the first person that ever chronologized me. He wrote about me in his book.
Mm.
It's called Children of the Dream, The Psychology of Black Success. And he thought that I was worthy to be in his book with the likes of people like Maxine Waters and
Mm.
Les Payne and all these phenomenal, awesome people of color who were essentially living out the dream that Dr. King talked about. And I think, we need to examine where our strength comes from,
Mm-hmm.
and then embrace that. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, because I'm not even going to quote the verse of scripture that comes after that, but I could say it. But I'm not ashamed of it, because it saved my life.
Right.
It
Absolutely.
saved my life, and it gave me life. It took away the dead person that I was and gave me life. And I know that he also gave me everlasting life when he gave me life. And so
Absolutely.
I'm not ashamed of the gospel, because it is what has made me into who I am. And if I'm ashamed of it, I'm not worthy of it.
A
So
couple
my
things.
question,
Go
and
ahead.
I had some things. I mean, what would I ask for? Look, I told you I asked for a car, and
Mm-hmm.
that car has been used to the glory of God. I mean, it really has. That's how I do my work. It's how I do what I do. I have to get around and move from here to there. And it's reliable. And I needed a reliable car. And the Lord doesn't mind if you ask for things, but it's the motivation behind the thing that you ask for. That's what he's looking.
Yeah.
What's in your
Right.
heart? What's in your heart? Everything belongs to him. And so wisdom is, as Solomon said, give me wisdom so that I can lead the people. Well, essentially, he was saying, give me all of the tools that I need to do your will. All of them, because wisdom teaches you how to use the tools. Because if you don't have wisdom, if somebody gave you a pair of pliers and said, here, this is your one tool, there's some things you cannot do with a pair of pliers.
Yeah.
There's some things you cannot do with a hammer. You need screwdrivers and you need all kinds of other things. And if you don't have those things, you can't do the job. So wisdom gives you the ability to access the resources that God has made available to you.
And I think a lot of times people might say, but how do I get out of the way? What does that look like?
Right.
We have to step back and allow him to do what he does. Trust him.
Mm.
And that's where a lot of times we get hung up, because God does things for us many times, and we overlook it. We don't thank him for the little things. We don't thank him. Every day I have to thank him for everything that he does, even if it's just watching over me at night. I have ministering angels watching over me every night. And I have to thank him for that. And so if we don't thank him for the things that he does, we don't necessarily see the outcome. We don't see it. And so we miss that outcome, and we miss that opportunity to be built up and know that God is working things for our good. And so I think that's a lot of what happens a lot of times. People just don't trust him enough. We talk about we trust God. Do we really? Do we
Well,
really trust God?
let me sort of dig a little deeper, because your life story that you've shared with us tonight challenged your faith at its core.
Absolutely.
And you chose Christ over everything else. How did you do that? How did you do that?
Again, I'm scared.
Can I just enumerate? Look, 28 years, betrayal, hurt, death, what you call complex trauma, homelessness, incarceration, physical abuse. I'm up at 8 already. I'm at 8. Incarceration. I'm not going to talk about all of the life-changing this, but 8 major things that took place in your life. A lot of people have said, that's too much. Can't deal with it. I'm out of here.
And they give up.
Yep.
Again, I have to credit my daughter. I don't know that I've ever really thanked her for what she said, but that shook me. For her to say, don't ever say that again, that is what prompted me to move forward. That's what prompted me to, okay, God, I'm here. I need your help. And I think a lot of times God will connect us with people who can help us to move forward and to deal with the challenged faith that we might have. He also walked me through different situations. So my challenged faith was, yeah, I thought these were Christians. What happened? And so God had to walk me through. And one of the things that he did was he said, you need to go and apologize to the church. And I was like, what did I do? Why do I need to apologize? But I did. And people told me, you know, if you apologize, you're going to see that everybody here loves you. Everybody wants you back. Okay. And I did that. One of the things was the new pastor asked me to meet with them on October the 4th. I said, do you realize that that's my husband's birthday? He said, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. So can we change the date? And I'm like, no, because God is allowing this for some reason. And so I went on then. They told me I needed to rejoin the church. I need to go through the new members, new discipleship classes. And I said, do you realize I wrote that curriculum? And they said, yeah, we know you did, but we feel it would be of value for the other people if you were in it with them. So there were things that happened along the way that pacified my challenged faith, if I can use that word. Because when I came to the conclusion that God is allowing things for some reason, I get it. I get it. And those things that he uses, those things that he allowed, it helped me to become the person that I am.
But think about what could have happened had you said, no, Lord, I'm not doing that.
Well, had I even not listened to my daughter.
Yep.
Had I not listened to her, because I would have been gone. She would have been alone. And whatever happened with her would happen. So I had to.
Well, she wouldn't have been alone, because, you know, the Lord says, I'll be with you always, even until the end of the age, which is a great thing. And I think sometimes we forget that.
Absolutely. And I did.
I'll never leave you nor forsake you.
Yeah.
And he meant it. You know, in my neighborhood, we said, I said it, I meant it, and I'm here to represent it. So Jesus said it, he meant it, and he surely represents it. He said, I'll never leave you. And he's been true to his word. He's never forsaken his word. Not ever.
I can't tell you how true he is. He is a true promise keeper. True promise keeper. But you have to stick around long enough to trust him so that you see those promises come true.
Right.
And many times we just walk away. Listen, I can't take this. I've been through enough. I don't feel like going through. I'm weary. I'm exhausted.
And that's fine.
I don't know.
And that's fine. It's okay to be at that place in your life. It's okay. And I think we need to understand that it's okay that you are frustrated. It's okay that you feel like you've been abandoned, that you've been misused, that you've been abused, that you have been left alone, and God has not been there for you. It's okay for you to feel that way. The Lord says it's not true, but it's okay if you feel that way. I'm not gonna hold it against you.
Right. And he didn't.
Right.
He did not hold it against me. Right. And I've been through a couple situations since that time where he didn't leave me. He protected me. He provided for me. And that bolstered my faith even more. Even more. Because I know that all I have to do is trust God. Trust him.
Yep.
And he will do what he does.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. You know, there's some interesting comments. I mean, a lot of them were commenting on what we were talking about, which is good. They didn't necessarily answer the question, but I saw some good comments here that I wanted to share. I wanted to sort of share with you. Let me see. So Gloria said, "Give me a heart to do thy will. Give me a heart like thine." And I appreciate that. My cousin Lorraine says, "With my heart, I can do for others in their time of need." I think I've read this already. We all need help at times. You never know when. And then Gloria said, "I would ask God to give me strength and wisdom." And then Gloria Archer says, okay, so that was just a greeting. So Darryl said, right now, I would ask for my name to be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Seriously. I just want to continue living and learning and growing and seeing these amazing things that God has made and that he is doing. I don't want this good thing to end for me. Real talk. That's what I would ask for.
Wow.
And, you know, so these are good. Now, interestingly enough, you know, I mean, if I was asked, for what do I want? And anything that you ask for, it'll be given. I guess I might be tempted to ask for wisdom, but I also might be tempted to ask for wealth. And I'd say that I would give it all away and do all these kinds of things. But I'd be tempted. I'd be tempted because I'm not all the way where I want to be. You know, that's real talk. I'm not all the way where I want to be, and it would make life a little bit easier. And I really would be able to do a lot more for others if I had more resources myself or access. But one of the things I've recognized over the years is that, number one, I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. That didn't happen.
We're still working toward it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I found out that I am wealthy.
Absolutely.
But I just don't have money. But I have access to resources. So I do things without having money.
Right.
You know, it's like Jesus went to people's homes and they fed them, they housed them. You know, he said, you know, the birds have nests. You know, the foxes have holes, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. But he always had a place to stay. He never was without. And I found out about me, I'm never without. I may not have $1 million bank account, but I'm able to get things done because the Lord provides for the need according to his riches and glory. And a little bit with the Lord is more than everything with the world.
Absolutely. You're well taken care of.
By the way, absolutely. By the way, we are at 6 minutes and we'll be done. So I want you to close out, say anything that you want, share whatever you want. And I want to, in advance, thank you. Then I'm going to share some of the things, some closing thoughts that the Lord gave to me. But I really want to thank you for being with me tonight. And I thank you for being so transparent and so honest and so open. And I want you to just close out with anything that you want to say. Tell us what you want us to know, and tell us what you want.
And I think that what I would say is I sort of got thrown into this. And even doing one-on-one sessions with people, I've always been an educator, so I love teaching. I don't mind the workshops and things of that nature, but the one-on-one coaching and counseling that I do was sort of uncomfortable. And I think it was uncomfortable because of the topic. Did I want to deal with information like that with people? Number one, people I don't really know. And number two, people who are in that state of mind. Do I really want to deal with that? And what I will say is, if I take just one of those people that I have worked with, I got such a glowing review from that person. And yeah, I'm not going to divulge a name, but I can tell you that this person was angry. And that anger led to the demise of the marriage. They stepped out of their role as the father, the husband, and they did what they wanted to do just to pacify the relationship. I like to work with people for a year. And I ask that because I also understand that as we change seasons, we can go through different emotions and feelings in spring. We didn't go through last month in winter, or vice versa. And so I like to see people and work with people for a year. And after going through with that person for a year, he was so amazed of how much different he is. And so I really am grateful for that review. And I think that all of the glory goes to God. It has nothing to do at all with me. I went through my own stuff. And so I had to realize what I had done, how I went through these things. And so now I have a frame of reference for other people. And so I really appreciated that review. And I have other reviews as well, but that one, it really struck home for me, because it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And so I also am honored by the fact that God even thought about using me. I'm honored because he did not have to use me. He could have allowed me to say, God, just take me home. I don't want to be here anymore. But he honored me by allowing me to go through everything that I went through, certifying myself and becoming a help to somebody else. And so I always say that I didn't go through all of this for me. I didn't. But there were people out here who were going through trauma, who were going through different emotions, and they don't know what to do with them. That is why I'm here. Gotcha. And I'm just so honored that God is using me. I really am.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much. By the way, folks, we're going to be a few minutes over because I'm going to do my closing remarks and we're going to be finished. But I've always found the story of Solomon ascending the throne as one of the most fascinating and personally challenging stories in the Bible. A question by God to a human being to ask for anything he wanted and it would be given to him. Just think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Anything, anything. Solomon was successful. Well, he was succeeding his father's reign as king of Israel and was being anointed by God himself. The Lord did not assign or appoint this duty to anyone else. He chose to do it himself.
Yeah.
In the process of this coronation, the Lord asked Solomon to tell him what he wanted, and he would give him whatever he asked for. Here is where it gets fascinating and challenging for me. Before Solomon is given the mantle of a king, God the Father, the architect of the universe, the giver of every good and perfect gift, the one who loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him will not perish but have everlasting life. Yeah. That God asked Solomon what he desired above anything else. Solomon didn't ask for fame or fortune. He didn't ask for power. He opened his mouth and asked for wisdom to rule his people. Not his people, but his people. I don't know about you, but I'm personally challenged by Solomon's request. I ask myself all the time, could I be as magnanimous as Solomon? Would I ask for wealth, power, fame, things that bring creature comforts? When I remember that the Lord asked or said, ask and I will give it to you, the challenge becomes even more overwhelming. I shudder to think what I might ask for. I still wrestle with my flesh, and I don't know about you, but I hope and pray one day I will say with assurance that I would ask for wisdom and not the creature comforts of life.
Absolutely.
I'm getting there, y'all. I'm getting there. I ain't there yet. I'm getting there. Now, my guest tonight has shared
It's a
some of the
process.
things. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You have shared some things and asked for that you asked for and the consequences of your requests. Every request has a consequence. Nevertheless, I'm so excited to have had the opportunity to share this platform with Lady Dr. Denyse H. Hunter this evening. She has been
Turner.
refreshing a breath of fresh air in what can be a stale world of selfishness and greed. Thank you, Dr. Denyse H. Turner, Sister Turner, Lady Turner, for taking the time to be with the Matters of Faith family tonight. I know they appreciate your presence tonight. Our mutual friend, Reverend Dr. Weta Harding, said you were the perfect guest for tonight. And guess what? She was spot on. She was spot on.
And
thank you for letting us glean and pick up those gems of wisdom that you asked the Lord to endow you with. And now you fed us. Now I need you to agree to let me invite you to be our guest again here on Matters of Faith. Would you be okay with that?
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Now listen, don't forget our sponsors and advertisers. The JLR company, J-Law and R Consulting, that's my company, LLC, for all your church financial needs. I told you I do consulting. I told you I do trainings. I do all of that stuff. 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096, or visit our website, www.jlawrenrussellconsulting.com. Yeah, it's just my name, www.jlawrenrussellconsulting.com. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. We're in the kingdom building business. Matters of Faith, the book. I've been talking about it all night, but this is the book. You know, I'm an author. This is the book. And this book is available to you. You can get it online by just going to my Cash App, $ Matters of Faith. The book is $23.40, which covers shipping and handling. And then, by the way, make sure that you put your name and your address there. If you don't have this book will bless your life. Now, I've been writing, and you've been talking about writing. I've been writing. This is the first book that I published. I self-published the book. I have written this column for the last going on 9 years. So I've been an author for a while. And it's a very good experience. And you can also get this book as an ebook. Just go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Now that information has been on the screen for you to see all night long. So you can get that. And if you don't have it, get the book. If you don't get it for yourself, give it to somebody else. It'll be a blessing in their life, because you don't know how the Lord is trying to bless people. Get out your way and let the Lord use you. This book was inspired by God. It's not my book, it's his book. Better Mag Magazine, www.bettermag.com. And you should subscribe to that. That's a black magazine. And we need to support each other. The magazine subscription is only $27.50 for 2 years. $27.50 for 2 years. Better Mag, www.abettermag.com. abettermag.com. You can also pay the money using the Cash App, $BetterMag, $BetterMag, and their gala is on this Saturday. Remember, discounted tickets are available, as well as tables, only to the Matters of Faith family. You can get it at www.abettermag.com. Listen, support it. They're giving me an award, so come, join me, be there. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Telephone, text, email, message, any way you do it. But tell a friend to join us regularly on Matters of Faith every Monday night. Join me next week on March 27th as we close our Women's History Month. And by the way, in case you didn't know it, Sister Denyse, you were a special part of our Women's History Month.
Amen.
So you
Thank
have
you.
graced us.
Thank you.
Next week, our guest will be Reverend Dr. Fran Manning. For those of you who know, Reverend
awesome.
Dr. Fran
Yes.
Manning.
Yes, I
my
do.
dear friend. So you need to join us next week and glean from her. She's a wealth of information. Now, we're always live on Matters of Faith and J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. We then drop each episode on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's why I asked you every week to subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. So we'll drop this episode tonight on our Matters of Faith channel. Now, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Now, if no one has told you this today, let me be the first to say that I love you and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it.
Amen.
Lady Denyse, again, I thank you. Now, good night and God bless to each and every one of you. Have a great evening. We'll talk later.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
We appreciate it. All right.